Dr. Diane, what happens with unreasonable guests? How do you deal with them?
I get a lot of really successful people on the show, I have to admit. And sometimes with that success comes a little bit of inflexibility with their schedule. I don't know if that's an unreasonable thing, but sometimes you have to talk to somebody who's in Europe, or, and you got to do it at 6 a.m, or you have to talk to somebody who has like 1 hour only, and it's during the time when you would have done something else. So sometimes you got to mix things up a little bit and to arrange things. I mean, I've had presidential candidates. I've had, the top billionaires of the world on the show. And if they want to do it at this time, I'm going to do it. But as far as unreasonable things, I would say some people want to be on more than once, and I don't have people on more than once. And so if they ask for something like that, sometimes I'll offer them something else. I'll say, well, I can't really have somebody on the show more than once, but I might be able to do a video that we could put on YouTube. I've done something separate, special for them. I've had guests who kind of want to micromanage what you can say. I've had some who will give you a list.
That goes with the territory. These are controlling people.
Right. Well, that's fine. It just makes it a better show if it's not micromanaged sometimes. But sometimes they'll say, you could only ask these questions on this list because they're afraid you're going to ask something that's going to make them out of their comfort zone. So I stay to the list, but normally I never go by list. I mean, if I have people send in lists so I can see the kinds of things they like to ask, but that's only for that reason, just so I kind of go in that direction. But if I think to be a reasonable guest, you have to realize that you're getting this opportunity to be on their show. Really, they're doing you a favor.
But you're interviewing people who have great status, great wealth, great achievements, and you're going to tell them what to do? I mean, that could be a little taxing for them.
Well, you have to show emotional intelligence. You have to be very like, hey, that's a great idea. Any kind of salesperson, you support what they say, right? Yeah, well, that's a great idea. How about we'll do that? But then, sometimes when you're on the air, you find that they lighten up quite a bit, and they tend to go and realize you're not trying to catch them in anything. I think it's the problem you see with the unreasonable people and I wouldn't even say they're unreasonable, just people that have a lot of different rules or things that they want you to do, is because they've had hosts that really didn't know what they were doing.
I know that well. Those are the gotcha hosts.
That they try to get you, right? Are they trying to? I can't quite tell. Is it? Do they get some kind of a fun from it when you're having hosts that do that to you? Because I've had a few.
The media's MO is if it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
They're going to try to give you a bloody nose.
Right. Well, you don't see as much of that in the podcast world. I mean, you do in radio, but in podcast, I mean, if you're on Howard Stern show like you've been on, he's going to do it for ratings and have for fun and to try and get you to say something embarrassing maybe or funny. And it just depends on the show you're on. Okay, my show is a business show, not so much about getting you. We're trying to showcase what you do in a really interesting way. So if you say something fun or out there, it makes it better, of course. But I'm not trying to make you look bad or catch you at something.
Well, you're not. But
right.
I have been on shows where the hosts were trying to have a combat.
Right.
To look good for themselves. But you see, when somebody puts you down, you only blossom more beautifully. I mean, it just doesn't work on air. People see that this person is being very difficult, and they pick up on that very quickly.
Well, I think there's hosts. I actually had a guy on my show who had been on a very famous daytime talk show host's show. She's always in the National Enquirer, where you're always mentioned. And you probably talked about her. She had a little bit of recent scuffles with the news and different things. And he said they told him to really ramp it up before he got out there. And he went out of his way to be super engaging. He was doing a cooking experiment because he had organized how to do an old recipe from Colonel Sanders' recipe or something like that. And as he was on her show, he tried to involve her And as soon as he did, because they told him to, she goes, no. She didn't even want to do it. She
Oh,
acted all put out by him. And I had to watch this video before he was on my show just to see the kinds of things he was on. And you could see his discomfort because it wasn't his natural inclination to be super gabby anyway. And he was going outside of his comfort zone. And then she just cut him off at the knees. And and I asked him a little bit about it after the show. He said it was awful because he didn't even want to do that. And then she wouldn't even get involved in the experiment they were doing on the air anyway. So I don't recommend doing that because I think it made her look bad, made him look good.
you see, it always works out that way. When I first got started, there was a witch who had interviewed me on CNN, and she was just put down and cutthroat and negative and nasty. And you know what? I just sat there. I didn't know any better. But you know, people said, God, she is really a bitch. And they didn't say that about me. So I said, well, she was doing her thing. That's her show. And that's all. But I looked beautiful in comparison to her negative
Oh,
hostility.
you always would know that.
Oh, thanks a lot.